How's it going, y'all? In today's video, we are talking things that you are going to want to know if you're moving to Boulder, Colorado. I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm going to do my best to just lay it out. Here's what it is going to feel like. Here are just important things to know. And yeah, we already have one of these on Denver, so go check that out. Boulder, a little bit of a different situation, a lot of similar stuff, but quite a bit different as well. So let's get into it. Things you probably ought to know before you move to Boulder, Colorado. Boom. How is it going, my friends? My name is Jesse Lynch, and I run the hardest working real estate team in the game. We are called Welcome to Denver. You can check out our website, welcometodenver.co. But this YouTube channel is all about helping you find a place to call home here in beautiful Denver, in this case, Boulder, Colorado, the Front Range, if you will. And that's whether you're buying a house for the first time or relocating from a different state, city, country, planet. Relocations, first-time home buyers, that's what we do, and that's what we do better than anybody else. It is our specialty. So if either of those things sound appealing to you, do us both a favor. Subscribe to the channel, click the little bell to get notified, give the video a thumbs up. Truly, will you do that for me? Come on. Give the video a thumbs up. If you're watching and you can, give the video a thumbs up. These videos take a long time, and that helps the algorithm a bunch. And leave a comment. You can say whatever you want in the comments. You can literally type whatever you want, period, send it. That's fine by me. I would appreciate any kind of engagement, thumbs up, comment. Thank you. And as always, if you are thinking about moving here, if you're, on the precipice of making that happen, just get a hold of us however you can. Fundamentally, the two easiest ways are going to be basically go to our website, welcometodenver.co, as in Colorado. We have a contact form there. Super easy way to just say name, number, a little bit of information, boom, I suppose email address, and then send it out and we will get back in touch. Or just shoot us an email at info@welcometodenver.co. They both lead to the same spot, if I'm being totally honest. But the more we do this, the more we find that that is the most just efficient way to make it happen. We do have a phone number that you can call or text in the description, but that is not preferred. I would say overwhelmingly the slickest option is the email or the contact form on the website. So we'd appreciate that very, very much, and we will absolutely crush it for you. Today's video, we are talking things that you probably ought to know before moving to Boulder, before even considering a move. I suppose maybe you're already considering a move, so you can continue to consider. How about while considering a move to Boulder? Some of this is just going to be just general facts that you may or may not know, but it depends on how far along the journey you are in getting here. Number one, Boulder is gorgeous. I'm talking one of the prettiest one of the prettiest cities with a population like in the 6 digits, if that makes sense. It's over 100K. I think it's without a doubt one of the nicest, larger cities and most beautiful larger cities as far as how it's situated. It is tucked right up against the mountains, and it is beautiful. And other than just the sort of geography, the place it's situated, the city itself is very well taken care of. The architecture is very nice. The park spaces are beautiful. The streets are well maintained. The homes are, for the most part, well maintained. Your likelihood or the availability of an epic house in Boulder, a lot of really, really epic houses, especially kind of as you get in the foothills and higher up. There's a lot of really beautiful architecture, both in the residential space and the, commercial or commerce space. So Boulder is gorgeous. Second, the weather in Boulder, generally amazing. I would say that's also mostly true of Denver. But I think I like the weather a little bit more in Boulder. The foothills, it stays a little bit cooler, gets a little more snow. I like those things, but in fairness, I'm from Minnesota originally, and we had a lot of snow and very cold weather. So if you're from a very warm climate, then maybe, not being in the foothills is a little more up your alley. But it is beautiful. It is sunny all the time. It really is. There's just most days are very, very nice weather-wise. That said, different side of the same coin. There are basically two main things to consider as far as weather goes. One is wind. It gets very windy. Two is hail, both of which are not awesome to a house's shingles, or really a house's roofing in general. I would say it's not so bad that like you have to replace your roof every year or anything like that, but it is something to consider. For one, I would say consider it and definitely just hammer it home when talking to house insurance or an insurance company or insurance person or whatever. Just make sure that, those sort of acts of God do cover the roof, and that there's not like loopholes of like, well, wind counts, but hail doesn't, or vice versa. We get both of them. And definitely consider it. But I would say for the most part, you should be covered by insurance. And when it applies to cars, wind isn't going to be nearly as much of an issue, but the hail for sure is. In general, if possible, you're going to want a garage. For the hail alone. But that said, just having a garage isn't going to limit the possibility of hail denting your car up really bad, because you might be driving when the hail comes. That's another thing about, in general, sort of the front range weather. It's just a little bit random, a little bit inconsistent, and it's a little bit hard to plan for. So ultimately, I think really the only thing that you can do as far as the hail for your car goes is just make sure it's insured. And I don't know, I might do a lower deductible in Colorado in general, I suppose the Front Range in general, than if I was somewhere else where that kind of extreme weather, which, I mean, some of y'all are laughing at the idea of hail being extreme weather. And I feel that it's not crazy. But it is a thing, and just be aware of it. Back to the positives of sort of the geography and the weather and all that situation, the climate. Boulder is basically an outdoor haven. You have access to so many amazing outdoor amenities that they're just like right there. Specifically, I would say mountain-based amenities, but that's kind of probably pretty obvious. If you're thinking about moving to Boulder, there's mountains nearby. Newsflash. But I mean, you have access to snowboarding, skiing, downhill mountain biking, obviously hiking. There's hang gliding. There's so many things that you can do up in the mountains. There's fly fishing, relatively nearby, fishing in general. There's a lot of good stuff. Ice fishing. It has to be frozen, of course. That's the most obvious thing I maybe have ever said. I apologize. I don't think that little of you that that ice fishing needs to have a frozen lake. Basically, it's an outdoor enthusiast's paradise. You're about an hour from Rocky Mountain National Park, one of the most beautiful national parks out there. You're 40 minutes from Eldora. You're about an hour from Loveland. These are ski resorts. You're maybe 90 minutes to Breckenridge or the Basin, aka Arapahoe Basin, aka A-Basin, like a basin. That just sounds weird to say it like that. And then I think 2 hours from Vail. So you're super close to some of the best skiing or snowboarding in the world. And it's beautiful too. And okay, all of those things require snow, right? To have fun. You can't, I guess you could maybe sand dunes. I suppose you could snowboard down sand dunes or something like that. But that doesn't sound fun. Although you're not too terribly far from Great Sand Dunes National Park, also a beautiful and fascinating national park in Colorado. But to engage in all of these winter snow activities, you need snow, which means that it snows, which means that if you are not used to snow, if you are not familiar with snow, that there are some things that I would generally recommend greatly. I'm originally from Minnesota, aka Minnesota, so I'm very familiar with snow and driving in the snow. The conditions are a little bit different. For one, there are mountains, right? And just the temperatures are different. But so snow, I'm very familiar with it. And for one, just know that you're going to have to deal with snow. Maybe that's a deal breaker. Okay, well then probably most of Denver is going to be a deal breaker. But maybe it's just the idea of driving, in real hilly areas. Okay, then, for one, you'll honestly probably be okay in Boulder. Boulder is pretty flat. But some of it, you get up into the foothills. And then I suppose as you get up into the mountains proper, you're going to be dealing with, considerably steeper angles, and thusly driving is a little trickier in the snow because if you're sliding, it's harder to stop. But, okay, first of all, if you have like a two-wheel drive, I'm going to say the worst vehicle you could have in the snow is a two-wheel drive pickup. Okay? Like an old Ford Ranger. Maybe the new Rangers are, yeah, I suppose some of like the, smaller two-wheel drive. Whew, yeah. A two-wheel drive pickup. For one, the back is so light. If you have that, bless your heart, you're going to want to put just all the sandbags in the back in the winter, and you're going to want to get the nicest tires. You're not going to have a super fun time. It just is so slippy and slidey. You are not going to have fun. So that's probably the worst vehicle. Second worst would be just a rear-wheel drive vehicle, like a rear-wheel drive, like a sports car, right? Whew, like a Charger, I think, a Challenger. I think a lot of those are rear-wheel drive. Mustangs, probably. You're not going to have fun in the winter. I mean, maybe if you have that and some kind of SUV or something, okay, yeah, cool, because you'll have fun driving the mountains in the summer. It's beautiful. There's some amazing drives, up in the mountains. And yeah, that I back that. Or a motorcycle, but obviously you're not going to ride a motorcycle in the I just imagine that. I suppose I did it, actually, if I'm being honest. There was a year where I was right out of college and I only had a motorcycle, and I was riding my motorcycle in like 0 degree Fahrenheit because that was my only way to get to work. So, I guess if it snowed, I didn't do it, but in the cold I would, but it wasn't fun. Anyways, tangent. Apologies. 30 seconds of your life that you won't get back. But now you know that about me, so that's fun. But okay, rear wheel drive vehicles, not gonna have fun. What I would recommend, the first step, and probably the obvious step, a four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive vehicle, right? So some kind of an SUV with four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Subaru is probably the most common vehicle that you will see here. I drive a pickup. I love driving a pickup, four-wheel drive pickup with some nice tires. Big fan, but that's obviously not for everybody. But what I said there, nice tires. I think that tires are probably more important than all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. If you have a two-wheel drive, specifically a front-wheel drive, like just some, normal two-wheel drive vehicle, maybe a Prius, maybe you want to drive something that, is like good on gas mileage. That's okay. You're never going to find a four-wheel drive one of those. You can get around just fine in something even as small as a Prius. You might have a couple days of the year where it's not super fun. Even people drive Teslas all year round. But the one thing that I really want to hammer home is that if you have a two-wheel drive specifically, and even if you have a four-wheel drive, you're going to want good tires. You're going to either want all-season tires. To me, if I have a four-wheel drive, I'll take all-season tires, okay? And they'll do a good job. If I have a two-wheel drive, I'm going to put snow tires onto that before the winter. I know a bunch of your eyes are glazing over, and I get that. That's fine. It's not a very exciting topic. It's very like dad mode of me to be hammering home this tire situation. But I swear to God, if you are not used to it and you drive on crappy tires, you're going to have a terrible time of it. You're going to get in an accident or you're going to end up in the ditch. So don't do that. So get snow tires, put them on, and it will make all the difference. Last thing on that, I would rather have a two-wheel drive with snow tires in the winter over a four-wheel drive vehicle with crap tires. Crap tires are not a natural kind of tire, for the record. But, bad tires. And that said, it does snow here, but the snow doesn't hang around forever. So that's something to consider. Don't think that you're just going to be driving through snow every single day if you live in Boulder. That's not the case. There might be snow hanging out on the grass or something, but for the most part, the roads are going to get cleared and they're going to be pretty dry. There's so much sun that the sun will melt the snow most of the time, especially on the roads because they're black, and that's kind of what they're designed to do. So yeah, there's going to be snow, but it shouldn't dominate your life. Okay, that makes sense? All right, moving on from sort of outdoorsy stuff. I'm going to say a couple things to know. Population of Boulder is right around 100K. So I think it's more than some people think, and then also a lot less than other people think. I think some people think it's going to be like Denver, but just like a little bit smaller. It's way smaller than Denver and way sort of cozier, but it's also not. Some people might be thinking it's maybe like a Vail or an Aspen. And it's not. It's a different thing. It's a much bigger place than one of those. It's not just a ski town. It's like a town, a proper town, right? Or proper city, but it's not nearly as large as the likes of Denver. Maybe you're coming from Seattle, Portland, Washington, Texas, and pretty much any of the big cities in Texas. Yeah, it's not even close. It's going to feel way smaller, way slower paced, and probably just more peaceful, to be honest. So I think that's generally a good thing. And you're close enough to Denver. Again, you're maybe 45-ish minutes to Denver. And so if you want to go into Denver for sporting events or cultural things, cool, you're close. That is not far at all. But then you can kind of retreat to the respite that is Boulder, Colorado. 45 minutes away. Easy peasy. And that population of 100,000 people is extremely active. I think any blog or whatever you look up on this, on Boulder, you're going to find something like this. I think it's pretty obvious, but maybe not. For some of you, maybe this is the first sort of inquiry you're making. Cool. Welcome. How's it going? But the population here is very active. Again, it's an outdoor enthusiast paradise. So outdoor enthusiasts come here. That was very difficult to say. It's big for that, right? So you're going to find, here's another just sort of fun fact, like fashion in general. You might be coming from like LA or, Seattle or somewhere like hip. Let's say you're coming from like Brooklyn. You're probably going to be like, where nobody cares about fashion at all here. And I mean, that's an overstatement, but it's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like fashion is just not a priority. And to the extent that it is, it's all like athleisure. Right? So, I don't know, Lululemon. I don't wear that stuff. I'll be honest. I wear Levi's and shirts like this all the time. So, Bart Simpson closet. But anyways, the population is extremely active. I would say the sort of fashion or the clothing choices tend to reflect that as well. Sort of the vehicles. You're going to see Subarus and Jeeps and just four-wheel drive things in general all the time, very often. And I would say the fact that it's a active population is a big part of that. People want to be able to go up to the mountains, right? That's why they live so close. You live 45 minutes you live an hour to Rocky Mountain National Park, so you can go there because it's beautiful. You live, an hour to Loveland, so you can go there because it's amazing. So that is all sort of reflected in the population in general. That said, there are some things that I think some people don't necessarily expect from Boulder. For one, the college scene is big here. Right? There's a big college. It's called CU Boulder, Colorado University Boulder. It's a huge college, and it is known for partying. So you're going to deal with some of that if you go down by the campus, which is a beautiful campus, by the way. Hey, real quick, I have a virtual tour on Boulder. I dove in on Boulder. If you're wondering what it feels like and you haven't watched that yet, watch the rest of this and then go watch that. Please watch the rest of this. It'll be there. Maybe I'll put it down in the comments. That'd be a smart idea. Or not. You can just look up Boulder, Colorado virtual tour and it should pop up. And something that generally comes with a college town like Boulder is the summers tend to be chiller. These, students who go to CU Boulder, they go home in the summer and work or whatever, just go back to, their family. And so the population of Boulder sort of dies down a little bit in the summer. It's not crazy. It's not like, bumping to ghost town, right? It's not that like huge of a shift because there are a lot of permanent residents in Boulder, but you will notice, I would say, especially by the campus, that it gets a little bit calmer as you get into the summer. And then a couple things that I think are sort of directly related to that, maybe like adjacent to that thing. Okay, brass tacks, the politics are liberal, progressive even, okay? That is present pretty much everywhere. I'm not saying you have to be a liberal to move here. I generally don't believe that we should have super homogenous populations. I think diversity in all things is good, diversity in ideas and all that. I think that's generally a good thing, but just know that I would say overwhelmingly the politics in Boulder lean liberal and even lean progressive. It's a gay-friendly area. It's like an artist-friendly area. There is like a legitimate art scene in Boulder. There's like some degree of a music scene, but I would say that Denver for sure has most of that. And that's probably true of the art scene as well. But again, you're 45 minutes from Denver. So most of sort of your cultural events are going to happen in Denver. but you're close, so it's not that big of a deal. There's a sort of, I don't know if it's a stigma, but just like an idea about Boulder that it's like a hippie place. So I would say it has roots in being a hippie place, but a lot of that is sort of, I don't know, a lot of it's gone. There is still some of it, but in the same way that maybe San Francisco was a hippie place, it is now a progressive place. But I'm going to say quality of life in Boulder is a lot better than San Francisco. That said, I haven't lived in San Francisco, so that's a little bit of conjecture, but I've been, and I think Boulder's a lot nicer. So there's that, just based on how clean it is and how nice it is and how easy it is to drive and park and go places and go to natural things. I remember being in San Francisco and thinking I was going to just like wander over to the Golden Gate Bridge or across it or something like that. And people were like, it's going to take you so long. You're not going to deal with that in Boulder. Anybody who says the traffic is bad here is not from somewhere on the coast or a major metropolitan area. It's not just free roads all the time, but it's not even compared to Denver. It's not even as bad. Certainly compared to the big areas, my God, you're going to have a blast. If you're from LA, San Francisco, San Diego, Seattle, Portland, Texas, New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Chicago, all of those places, if you're from there, you are going to think that Boulder's traffic is not traffic at all. You're going to make, no, this is just cars. This is just cars just driving around. I'm telling you, the traffic here, despite what anybody might say, I've seen it in some blogs where they're like traffic, and I'm like, I think you're out of your mind. It's just, that's not the case. That said, if you're going up to the mountains on a Saturday or Friday night, you're going to hit some traffic, but it's not really the Boulder traffic. It's just folks heading to the mountains. So that's true no matter where you live in this sort of front range. If you're heading up into the mountains, you're going to hit traffic. So to me, that's a little bit of a different thing. Next up, it's a progressive city, it's liberal. In Colorado in general, this is true. Most people know this, but weed is legal here in Colorado. If you are just strictly against the idea of like ever smelling, weed, marijuana out in the wilderness, then you might not have too much fun. Although I feel like everywhere you go these days, you might smell it. But it is not legal to like smoke it in the streets, so you shouldn't be dealing with it constantly. It's not this barrage of weed, but maybe you don't want your kids to grow up and see weed stores. I know there are some people like that. Well, there are weed stores, so dispensaries. So keep that in mind. But I don't know, there's liquor stores everywhere, and kids are used to that. And then I guess on a similar sort of topic, because I do feel like they are somewhat connected, there is a homeless population in Boulder. It's not egregious, again, if you're from the West Coast. It's small potatoes comparatively. But if you're coming from somewhere where there is not a homeless population at all, or certainly a visible homeless population, then you might not be super into it. You might just see more of that population than you want to. But again, I don't know. It's here, but it's not egregious. And I don't want to, speak ill of the homeless. I know that they're people, and I don't think of just like homeless people as a thing. I think of the homeless problem, as more of a one big issue. And I'm just being honest. Some people that's gonna be sort of a deal breaker. Okay, cool. Then maybe you're gonna want to live in a suburb, right? Or I would say a suburb of either Denver or Boulder, and you should be a little bit more insulated from that. But again, it's relatively small. It's considerably smaller than Denver's homeless population, and like everything else, something to consider. And I would say different side of the same coin. Again, housing is very expensive here, and housing costs have risen dramatically in the last year. I believe there's been a 45% rise in costs over the last year. That was a few months ago that I did that, but I do have a Boulder cost of living video as well. And yeah, the housing market has grown, but yeah, the median sale price for single family homes in Boulder has grown by 46% in the last year from, this is just me remembering, so I apologize, I didn't look this up. I believe it was from somewhere around 600 up to somewhere around 850. Does that math make sense? Pretty close. So yeah, I believe that's what it is. Median home price is somewhere around 850. Average home price is higher. It's over $1 million. So, but that's just because, you're taking those really, really high-end houses. There's $20 million houses. That makes up for so many $600,000 houses, right? But the median is closer to 850. And that said, just because housing isn't expensive doesn't mean that all of Boulder is rich. That's what I think. There are two sort of preconceived notions about Boulder. One is that it's just all hippies, right? Running around naked with dirty feet, eating granola out of clay bowls or something like that. And then the other is that Boulder is just for rich people. And that's not true. There are cheaper areas in Boulder. There's a few trailer parks, and there are just sections. I would say for the most part, it's on the eastern part of Boulder, further away from the mountains, where it just it's cheaper. It's less sort of high end. And for one, a lot of people lived in Boulder long before Boulder became what Boulder is today. And personally, I want to respect that, right? There are people who have been sort of getting pushed out because they're just working blue collar jobs, that used to be fine in Boulder. And now as more and more money comes into Boulder, then those folks can no longer even afford the taxes on a house, because everything is getting sort of more expensive in that regard. Their house that, I don't know how long ago, but used to cost $200,000 is now, worth $1 million, and they're paying taxes on that. And that's tough. So really the takeaway for me is it's not only rich people. It's not only hippies. There are rich people, there are hippies, there are blue collar folks who live in Boulder as well. And, I think to me, that is a nice balance of things. I think for a place to be, nice to live and interesting at all, you need a variety of a lot of different things. And the diversity in Boulder is good. And for the most part, I would say it's encouraged. One thing that maybe is less encouraged, and this is just sort of, I don't know, something that I feel like I've noticed, is differing political beliefs. Okay, so maybe that's good, maybe that's not, but this is me trying to be as forthcoming as possible. Maybe you love the idea of that, right? I'm sure there are plenty of y'all who do. Okay, and then last but not least, I would say Boulder is this is probably a tag on the whole hippie thing, but the echoes of hippiness are very much in their sort of health consciousness and natural foods and all of that. For one, natural foods is one of the biggest sort of industries within Boulder as far as employers, I would say especially employers of upper bracket income folks, I think would be in this natural food world. It's sort of the center of the universe for natural foods. I'm sure there's some places where you're no, that's where I live, is that. Okay, that's fair. But it's one of them, okay? One of the centers of the universe, which I know doesn't make any sense. But there's going to be tons of sort of food options if you're a vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, paleo, I suppose carnivore. There's going to be plenty of options for any of that. There's going to be natural foods and healthy grocery options, aplenty. There's a farmer's market. The list goes on. And really, really great restaurants throughout Boulder, both, chain and one-of-a-kind spots. Okay, and now I'm very curious to know if this video is getting you closer to the idea of wanting to live in Boulder or further from it. Maybe the more you watch this, the more you think about the price per square foot. Maybe you're thinking, I'm going to look at Longmont. I'm going to look at Erie, which we have a video on. We'll have one on Longmont soon. Maybe you want to go to Superior, or maybe you're like, screw it, I'm going down to Castle Rock or something. I don't know, whatever. You maybe have all these potential options. But Boulder is an amazing place to live. Probably the biggest hurdle for most people is the financial aspect of it. But then there are some folks where Boulder seems like a sort of discount compared to where they live. And that is a lot of who's moving there. And honestly, good on you. We'd love to help you. But ultimately, we would just love to help whoever you are find the right place to call home here in Denver, Boulder, the Front Range in general. So if that's you, do whatever you can to get a hold of us. Go to our website, welcometodenver.co, fill out the contact form, or shoot us an email at info@welcometodenver.co. That is basically, the most effective way. If you have more that you want to tell us about your move here, cool. They both lead to me, and I look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to helping you make the move here. We've been doing it for a bunch of folks from out of town, and we work very hard on these videos, and we work very, very hard to help you find just the best place to call home here in Denver or Boulder. So if you have not yet, as you exit the video, please do so safely. Subscribe to the channel, click that little bell to get notified. Give this video a thumbs up if you didn't at the beginning when I begged you. Please, I'm just kidding, but please give the video a thumbs up. I would appreciate that very, very much. And as always, leave a comment. You can say, Boulder is cool, period. Send it out. I'd appreciate that. Any kind of engagement helps, and helps more folks like yourself find these videos. Ultimately, helps more people get here to beautiful Denver, Boulder, whatever it is, Colorado, the Front Range. Let's go. We did it. I hope this is helpful. I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.